These dolls are take our souls.
Dude, I don't like it in here.
This is like my worst nightmare.
The next day, I got the pictures out, and when I opened them up, I looked at what we had, and I was like, oh my God.
The painting was painted using oils mixed in with the artist's own blood. When he finished the painting, he committed suicide.
We are on our way to the island of the dolls.
Oh my God.
One of them's laughing.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, bro.
Located in the vast network of canals south of Mexico City lies what might be the most terrifying place on Earth. The Island of the Dolls is a small island that belonged to its only inhabitant, Don Julian Santana Barrera. The story goes that around 1950, Don Julian discovered the body of a drowned girl in the canals. He was tortured with guilt and despair that he hadn't been able to save the young girl. He also found a doll floating nearby and hung it on a nearby tree as a sign of respect. He was convinced that this was a sign from the evil spirit, and began collecting dolls as offerings to the little girl. For 50 consecutive years, the man hung hundreds of these dolls throughout the island to protect himself from the evil and calm the spirit of the little girl. After his death in 2001, his body was reportedly found in the exact same spot where he found the little girl's body 50 years before. In 2014, the Ghost Adventures television show visited the island to investigate and attempt to communicate with the spirit of Don Julian. Over the course of their night on the island, the crew experienced many strange incidents, such as hearing unexplained noises coming from nearby where a fire pit is located. Soon afterwards, a fire is sparked, but there is no one else on the island who could have possibly started the fire. Later that night, the investigators entered the small shed where Don Julian kept a shrine for several of his special dolls, including the one that floated up after the girl's death. Right before Zach, one of the investigators, could bring Harold a notoriously haunted doll that he brought to the island out of the bag. The scream of two cats scares the investigators, right before a doll begins laughing behind them.
Ready?
No, I'm not ready for this.
Oh!
Whoa! Bro! Come here!
Oh my God. Oh my God.
One of them's laughing.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, bro!
Holy.
The crew later went back to try and debunk the laughing doll. They turned it around to find nothing but two exposed wires with the entire battery compartment ripped off. In the late 1800s, Thomas Otto and his family moved into a mansion in Key West, Florida. By many accounts, they were well off, but were known to be abusive toward their servants. One of the family's servants, a Bahamian girl, gave their son Robert Eugene Otto a straw doll that stood about 3 feet tall, had buttons for eyes, and was dressed in a white sailor's suit. It is said that the girl was skilled in voodoo and black magic, and cursed the doll with hatred as a form of revenge for her mistreatment. Gene named the doll after himself and soon became his trustworthy companion. His parents would hear him upstairs talking to the doll late at night sometimes. They could hear the doll speaking back in a much lower and different voice. Perhaps it was their imaginations? But this was only the beginning. Household objects would be found thrown across the room, plates falling from tables and lamps falling from walls. Whenever these unusual occurrences took place, Gene simply said, "Robert did it." When Gene finally got married, he placed Robert in the turret room of the house. Kids walking past the mansion claimed they saw Robert scowling at them and appearing in different windows. The doll remained in the turret until Gene's death in 1974. Soon after, a woman named Myrtle Reuter purchased the home. She claimed Robert moved around on his own and was haunted. Visitors who have seen him claim to have witnessed his expression changing, and a plumber once fled from the house claiming he heard the doll giggle. In 1994, Myrtle donated Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum in Florida. When he was put on exhibit, cameras and electronic devices malfunctioned in his presence, and soon letters began arriving addressed to the doll offering apologies for disrespectful behavior and asking for his forgiveness. In 2011, a video was uploaded to YouTube in which some people believe Robert the doll can be seen blinking on camera. Another strange thing about this video is that the man who uploaded it never mentioned or even seemed to notice the doll blinking. It only caught people's attention after commenters started pointing it out. So, what do you think? The story of the Anguished Man begins some 25 years ago, when a man named Sean Robinson was gifted this disturbing painting by his grandmother. According to the story, it was painted by an unknown artist who mixed his own blood with the oil paint and killed himself shortly after it was finished. It had been stored in his grandmother's attic for over 25 years. She claimed the painting was evil, and that she was stalked by a shadowy figure of a man in her house. But Sean, being a skeptic, ignored his grandmother's warnings, and after her death, Sean decided to display the painting in his home and viewed it as a mere conversation piece. However, it didn't take long for him to realize he had made a terrible mistake. Soon after, various members of the family claimed to have seen the dark figure of a man. At night, they began to hear unexplained noises, crying and moaning. In 2011, Sean decided to set up a camera overnight to capture the strange activities. Soon, he uploaded the first video to YouTube. The first night, we can hear what Sean describes as a light scraping sound. The second night, we can see the door slamming shut. The man continued to upload videos of the events, where he captured several strange light anomalies, strange fog-like mist, and even this EVP. Despite all the bizarre activity, Sean refuses to sell the Anguished Man and keeps it in his basement to this day. This next story begins with two friends and paranormal enthusiasts, Guy Winters and Terry Lambert. For years, Guy and Terry have heard rumors about a haunted mansion on the outskirts of town. The now demolished O'Hare Mansion in Greencastle, Indiana was reportedly the home of a female spirit, known as the Pink Lady. Intrigued, the two men traveled to the mansion and began their investigation. They documented their trip with a video camera and took many photos. In 2000, a TV show covered the story of that unforgettable night.
I took a series of 3 pictures of an upstairs window, and after I took that series of pictures, I went around to the back of the home, and I took a picture of a doorway.
Still in the house, Guy continues his investigation, but suddenly he feels that he is no longer alone.
I felt this presence come over me, and the smell was like sulfur and roses. Real strong smell.
You hear that? Heartbeat.
And this heartbeat was in my head, but it wasn't my own heartbeat. I really felt like I was dying. This feeling of anxiety was just overwhelming, and I was afraid I wasn't going to make it out of there.
Guy and Terry run from the house, afraid to stop until they reach the safety of their van. When Terry develops the film from his still camera, he's shocked by what he sees. 3 consecutive pictures of what appears to be a woman glowing in a pink light, floating in the second-story window. Another pink shape is captured at the back door. Guy and Terry make more trips to the mansion, but the ghost of Greencastle does not reappear. However, the men captured 2 other images that are just as difficult to explain. The first is this photograph of what appears to be a woman in a flowing gown. Due to her intense colour, she is known as the Gold Ghost. The second strange event occurs while Guy takes pictures of the mansion. Suddenly, 3 cloud-like shapes fly by. Is this merely fog or some type of mist? If so, it would need a strong breeze to travel this fast. But Guy's clothes and hair never move, indicating that no wind is blowing.
But this ghost story is far from over. 10 years later, Guy Winters was featured in a 2010 episode of the TV show My Ghost Story, where he might have revealed the real identity of the Pink Lady.
My next question was, who is this? I'd shown a little local TV studio what I had, and they thought, wow, this is fantastic. So they done a little segment on it, asking who this is, and some people came forward.
Mary O'Hare and William O'Hare.
And they built the house.
Yes, my granddad did.
Basically, it led to Mary Riddell. She's the one that identified the ghost for me. She said, I know who that is. That's my mom, and that was my mom's house, and that's my mom's bedroom window. She brought this box out of all these photographs of her mother and the whole family that lived there. This photograph shows Irene and her sister and another sister sitting on each side of her and their boyfriend standing in the background. She said, there's my mom when she was a teenager living in that house. And right next to her was her sister, Vera. And I said, well, that looks like the ghost in the back door. And sure enough, it was. The gold ghost in the front window, though, that still vexes me. Recently, I was driving up the road and I looked back and I didn't see the house. And I just was like, oh my God, what happened? The owner of the property had torn the house down. It was just a devastating feeling. It made me think about all of the attention this story had gotten, and it was the attention that caused her house to be torn down. How terrible of them to bring a backhoe up there and push this house down just because it was on TV and they don't want people up there studying this phenomenon. And it was so upsetting. I got photographs of me sitting on the pile of rubble and feeling so bad, and there's an orb right there beside me, as if she feels that too. Well, what's sad about this is when I first discovered the ghost, I had been through a bad divorce and a hard time, and I was pretty much, homeless. And there she had this beautiful monster house, and now it's reversed. Now I have a nice home, and she's homeless. She saved me. She pointed me in the right path. This ghost loved me. These photographs have showed me there's something more to this world than us. Something way more.